Fear of failing. You know, one of my specialties as a psychotherapist was anxiety. And one of the things I've always told people about anxiety is that we only get anxious about things we care about. Mm-hmm. We're never anxious about things that don't matter to us. And the mistake a lot of people make is that when they get anxious about something, they avoid that thing. They decide they're not going to do that thing. Well, if I go through my life avoiding what I really care about, wow, what's my life going to be? Right? Whereas if I face my fears, I mean, I can look at my fears, I can see them as a roadmap to what I really want.
Hey lovely people, I hope that you all are doing well. This is Arya Maheswari and welcome back to my channel. This time we are going to meet Rick Cormier. Rick Cormier is a psychotherapist and also the author of the book Mixed Nuts, or What I Have Learned Practicing Psychotherapy. You can get the book link in the description. This podcast is going to be a little different from my other podcasts because the questions are yours. So this podcast is for the people who are in their 20s and are stressful about the situations such as academics, chasing passion, work, job, life, and marriage. Please watch this video till the end. Hey guys, it's Arya and the guest of this week is Rick Cormier.
Hi.
Hi.
Pleasure to be here.
So Rick wrote a note on Quora which helped over 75,000 people all over the world, and I got really good questions. So Rick is going to answer all of them in this video. So this video is all about you guys. Okay Rick, so I would like you to start by introducing yourself and introducing us to your note.
Okay, yeah, I'm 66 years old at this point. I'm married. I have a son who's 28 years old. I'm a retired psychotherapist, but I'm also a musician, and I build drum mallets and beaters, and boy, I do a lot of photography. I have lots and lots and lots of hobbies keeping me busy. I play drums in a couple of bands, including some kirtan bands here in the U.S. I live in Santa Fe, New Mexico, which is a state in the USA. And the note that I wrote, and I wrote this back in 2016, it's called I Remember My 20's, a letter to my young friends. And I'll just read it because it's kind of the subject of this interview. I remember seeing my friends get married one by one when I didn't even have a girlfriend. I wondered what was wrong with me. Was I so unattractive? Was I so strange and unlikable? Every time I dated a girl, I wondered what the hell she was talking about and how long I could hold this fake smile when she went on about stuff I didn't care about. Would I end up alone? Was there a word for a male spinster? I remember sleeping in a sleeping bag on my apartment's kitchen floor with my dog curled up beside me. It was my attempt to delay turning on the heat until late December. If I hadn't worked as a cook, I don't think I could have afforded to feed myself. My rent was half of my weekly income. I rode a bicycle to work and to school because it's all I had. On rainy days, I hitchhiked. I remember college friends preparing for careers they had planned their whole life, or at least since high school. Everyone seemed to know exactly what they were going to do but me. Should I be a musician, a psychotherapist, a writer, a minister, a psychologist, a chef? How would I know? Those career aptitude tests were of no help. My responses always pointed to all of those things. What if I graduate from college with a degree and decide I want to do something different? Oh my God. What if I go into a field and then decide that I hate it? Oh my God, oh my God. I remember being 6 feet tall, 172 pounds, with a big smile and a head full of curly hair like a lion's mane. I only knew that I felt fat and homely. I was sure all people saw was a big doofy guy with a chipped tooth. I would never look better in my entire life, but my self-image caused me to miss that experience entirely. It was hard to be in my 20s. I felt like I was expected to go from a carefree teenager to a responsible adult overnight. There was so much pressure to be so many things. A husband, a father, someone confident, someone successful, mature, who never made mistakes. Now I'm 62, at least I was 4 years ago. I have friends and a son in their 20s, and I offer this advice: relax. Somehow, I managed to meet and marry my best friend. Somehow, I found balance. I figured out how to pay the bills and still do what I enjoyed. Life taught me to be resilient. I gained the confidence of knowing that I would emotionally survive anything life threw at me. I even managed to become wise and make fewer mistakes. Decades from now, you'll look at a photo of yourself from today and marvel at how good you looked. But if you're honest with yourself, you'll admit that life is much easier now and less stressful than it was then. You'll figure out that the people who are attracted to you are attracted to the person you have become, not just the shell that strangers see. If you should become disenchanted with the field that you choose, you can change your mind and try another. I did. Despite my bachelor's degree in communications, I worked in human resources for 12 years before entering grad school for psychotherapy. And I think I was 38 when I got into grad school. If you have too many interests to choose just one, so did I. I wound up working as a psychotherapist for 4 days a week and a drummer for 3 days a week. And I wrote books in between. I still find time for photography, and I'm the cook in our house. Forget about doing things the right way. Focus on figuring out your way. Take advantage of your 20s. Your energy and potential for learning are at their peak. I promise you have no idea what your life will be like at 35, 45, or 55. But relax. Everything is going to be okay.
So this was a note Rick wrote on Quora. So basically, we are going to ask some questions. Okay. So the first question we have got is from Vaishali. And she's saying that I'm working very hard in a master's program that I'm not very excited about. I think that I would like to write, but I'm worried that I might not earn enough money doing what I might love. What should I do?
That's a question that comes up a lot. And I'll tell you the same thing that I would tell anyone starting out, is that do what pays the bills. That's number one. Do whatever pays the bills. Sure, I was a musician and I did all this stuff, but you know, I wanted to own a car. I wanted to have a wife. I wanted to have a house. I wanted to have health insurance. That's an issue here in the States. First, you do what's going to pay the bills. And then, in addition, you do what you love. Now, hopefully, you don't mind doing what pays the bills. Hopefully, the 12 years that I worked in human resources, I didn't hate it. They paid me a lot of money. I didn't hate it, and I was good at it. But even when I was 17 or 18, I could have told you that I would love to be a psychologist, that that's what I really wanted to do, was help people with mental health issues. And so you do what pays the bills, and in the meantime, you do the stuff you enjoy, because if one of the things you enjoy succeeds, and suddenly you can make just as much money singing or painting or writing or dancing or acting. Switch. Do that, because now that's going to pay the bills. And if that doesn't happen, it's okay. We call it a life. You wind up spending your time doing what you enjoy. Do you know? If I never made a penny writing a book or playing music, I would still write books and play music because I love to do it. So it doesn't matter. Do you know? And the nice thing about retirement is you get to do whatever's fun.
So the next question is from 3 people. It is from Shivanshi, Vobo, and Mansi. So, handling love life, family struggles, dealing with the anxiety of the uncertainty of future, fear of failing. A question on similar lines is also asked by Mansi, and she is asking that she has failed so many times that she lost the motivation to pass her exams. What can she be still motivated?
Okay, now there's a multiple question. So first, let me talk about love life. There are differences obviously in Indian culture and Western culture. So I'm going to give you the Western answer because I think it still applies. What I would suggest to anyone as far as love life goes is you want to see a person in a stressful situation, because when we're dating, I'm going to be at my best. I'm going to show you the best part of me. You may never see that part again, but that's the part you're going to get. But when I'm under stress, you may discover that I have a really terrible temper. You may discover that even though the two of us are in a stressful situation, I'm blaming you. Guess what? When we're married, we're going to be in plenty of stressful situations. And if I'm the type of person that's going to blame you every time something goes wrong, oh my God, you don't want anything to do with me. On the other hand, if we're in a stressful situation, do I get really focused on the problem and solving the problem? You would want to know that. Do you know? When Judy and I were dating, we got in plenty of stressful situations because we dated for like 4.5 years. So I knew how she was going to be under stress. She knew exactly how I was under stress, and we were both okay. So, that's the first part. Fear of failing. One of my specialties as a psychotherapist was anxiety. And one of the things I've always told people about anxiety is that we only get anxious about things we care about. Mm-hmm. We're never anxious about things that don't matter to us. And the mistake a lot of people make is that when they get anxious about something, they avoid that thing. They decide they're not going to do that thing. Well, if I go through my life avoiding what I really care about, wow, what's my life going to be? Right? Whereas if I face my fears, I can look at my fears, I can see them as a roadmap to what I really want. Do you know? you know, I used to play the guitar and sing, and I would only do it in front of my friends and family and things like that. And, you know, somebody spent a whole summer talking me into playing at a coffee house. And I thought that all I had to do was do 2 songs, and I was done. And I was so scared about doing that. But this person had bugged me all summer, and so I went and I did it. And when I got there, I found out that I wasn't supposed to do 2 songs. I was supposed to do 2 entire sets. I was the whole evening's entertainment. And, you know, I was so scared. But I did it. And I would begin doing it all the time. I became a regular there. And, you know, a couple of years later, I tried out for the chorus and I got the lead role in the play Hair. And I was still scared. But why? I was scared because I would love to do that. It was my favorite play. And if I can pull that off, that'd be awesome. Do you know? So that's the thing with failing. You know, we're afraid of failing, but if we didn't care about that thing, we wouldn't be afraid of it. And so, you know, that's my answer is use your fear as a roadmap. Because if you're afraid of something you want, I don't mean something crazy. I don't mean, you know, I'm afraid of getting up on a 10-story roof and jumping off. Well, I should be afraid of that. You know, I'd be afraid of putting my hand in a lion's mouth, but I should be afraid of that, you know? That's not what I mean. You know, that's not the kind of fear that most of us feel, so.
I'm sure they all got their answers. The next question is asked by Pankuri. If I keep on changing my career streams and not start spending on learning other skills, then won't it take too long to settle down?
Okay, now there's another one. Now there's a, you know, cultural difference there. You know, in India, family is very, very important. That closeness of the family is very important. If your family is very supportive of you, awesome. But not all families are. Some families are not at all supportive. My answer to that would be, would it take too long by whose standard? Okay, and again, if I use myself as an example, I met Judy when I was 26. I married her when I was 30. I became a dad when I just turned 38. Was that too long? By whose standard? Do you know? I was 20 when I started college because I had left the Navy. I was drafted and I wound up, left high school, was drafted, went into the Navy because the alternative was going to Vietnam at the time. So by the time I started college, I was 20 years old. I was the oldest kid in the class. Most of my classmates were going to graduate in a year when they were 21, and I was just starting at 20. I worked in human resources for 12 years. I was 38 when I actually applied to grad school and got in. Was that too long? Do you know? I have a song that I wrote that has a good line in it that I still use to this day. And the line was, trains don't always run on time. But that doesn't mean they don't get to where they're going. And I wouldn't do anything different. So as far as waiting too long, I don't know what's too long. I mean, I know a couple that's very happily married. They were both 45 years old. And they had never been married before. And they met each other, they got married at 45. Should they have just married anybody at 25? Do you know? So, yeah, that's my answer there.
That must have been really helpful for her. Now, the next 3 questions which I'm going to ask are by Dipali. Okay, so her first question is how to not react quickly.
That's an easy one. Learn to delay your reactions. Learn to delay your answers. It's okay. You know, we want to answer everything like this, and that's great. But you know what? It's okay to say, let me think about it and get back to you. It's perfectly fine. You buy yourself time. We don't have to answer everything in the second that it's asked. You know, it's okay to say, let me think about it. And then go off and decide what you want.
So the next question which is asked by her is it okay to see only good in a person and ignore their bad traits? Is it right to always forgive them?
That depends. It depends on what the bad is. If a person forgets to turn off the lights, or is a person abusive? Two different answers. You know, if somebody forgets to turn off the lights, I'd forgive them. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. We're going to make mistakes. On the other hand, if someone is abusive, that's not forgivable. You know, if someone really humiliates you knowingly, that's unforgivable. So it depends.
So the next question is, why am I so insecure about myself?
Probably because you're young and trying to live up to the expectations of others. That's a big part of young people in their 20s. That's a huge part. That's part of what I was talking about in the the piece that I wrote. We might feel pressure from our family. We certainly feel pressure from society. Examples. You know, if you look at movies and you're a woman, women are always perfectly beautiful and made up, and even you get out of bed and your hair was done by a hairstylist and your makeup is perfect, and you look at magazines and they Photoshop the faces, they Photoshop the bodies, and so you, as a woman, you know, you look at that and you think, oh, you know, she's perfect and I'm not. Do you know? It's the same with guys. You know, we sit there and we watch these macho guys, we watch these superheroes that do stuff we can't do. And, you know, one of the things that happens, certainly in Western society, I can't speak for India, but in Western society, boys get the message real early on, don't cry. Crying is for girls, crying is feminine, crying is about being a sissy. And what nobody talks about is girls get the message, the same message about losing your temper. Ooh, girls don't get mad, girls don't get angry. That's a masculine thing, that's a boy thing. You're not feminine if you have a temper. Well, of course you have a temper. These are just human emotions. Of course a boy is going to cry when he falls down and he scrapes his knee. Of course he's going to cry. And to tell him that's nothing and that his feelings are not worthwhile, they're not valid. But I grew up with that. And most men in Western culture grew up with that, and most women grew up with the other side of that. So, you know, I throw that as an example of expectations. How can you not feel insecure if your family and your society is showing you, you know, here's perfect and here's you? Do you know? That's not fair.
So that must have been really helpful for all of us.
I hope.
And that was the last question.
Okay.
Thank you so much for being here and for answering all of us.
Thank you very much. This was a pleasure.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video. and I'm sure that video must have been quite helpful for all of the people out there. If you are new to my channel, subscribe it and also press the notification bell. Comment on this video about your reactions, like this video and share this video as much as possible.